Welcome back to the deep dive. We've received some really insightful material from you about recognizing the signs. The signs that a loved one might be entering their final year.
Yes, specifically drawing from that piece, Signs of Life's Final Year.
Right. And our aim here is to, well, get right to the heart of these often quite subtle signs.
To understand what they're really signaling.
Exactly. So you can navigate this time with hopefully a bit more clarity and, importantly, connection.
And it's really about understanding these shifts, isn't it? Not about, causing fear or anxiety.
Absolutely not. So where should we start? The first sign mentioned in the source.
Let's start there. Unexpected weight loss. It shares the story of Margaret. She was 86.
Ah, yes, I remember that one.
And initially, her clothes getting a bit loose, it was just seen as a normal part of getting older, almost a chuckle-worthy thing.
Yeah, it's so easy to dismiss those things, isn't it? Oh, she's just shrinking a bit.
Right. But then her daughter started noticing more.
Like the frailty.
Exactly. A frailty in her arms, her cheeks looking a bit more gaunt. Even, the source said, a less vibrant look in her eyes.
A dulling, almost. And she wasn't eating as much.
No. Started leaving food, saying she just wasn't hungry, or maybe that food didn't taste right anymore.
Okay, so what's the real insight here? What should you be thinking if you see this gradual change?
Well, the crucial point, I think, is that unintentional weight loss in older adults is, well, it's rarely harmless.
Okay.
A pound here or there might be nothing, but if it's persistent, noticeable. It often signals that the body's needs and functions are changing.
And the source gives reasons.
Yes, a few key things. The digestive system might be slowing down. Appetite naturally fades sometimes. And the body just isn't as good at absorbing nutrients.
Ah, so even if they seem to be eating a decent amount.
Exactly. Their body might not be processing it like it used to.
And it's not just about digestion, is it? The piece mentioned muscle wasting.
Uh-huh. That can happen even if they're getting enough calories. And then there are the underlying conditions.
Right, things like cancer or heart failure, kidney disease, maybe progressing quietly.
Precisely. Those conditions can really alter metabolism, how the body uses nutrients. And we shouldn't forget the emotional side either.
Like loneliness.
Yeah.
Or depression.
Yes, or even subtle cognitive changes. They can all impact someone's desire to eat, their engagement with meals.
It's interesting because the natural reaction is always, oh, eat more, let me get you your favorite foods.
Of course.
But the source makes this really key point. If the body is naturally shifting to a lower energy state, pushing food might not actually help.
It's a really important distinction. It becomes less about the amount of food and more about acknowledging the body's own signals.
So the insight isn't fix the weight loss, but maybe shift focus.
I think so. Shift towards comfort, support, offer smaller, maybe nutrient-dense meals, create a relaxed atmosphere, and try to understand that this change might just be part of the journey, not a problem you have to solve.
That's a helpful way to frame it. Okay, let's move to the second sign then. This deep, persistent fatigue.
Right. Eleanor's story illustrated this one. She sounded quite active well into her late 80s.
Very independent, took pride in it.
A picture of vitality, really.
Exactly. But then this profound tiredness started setting in.
More than just feeling tired.
Oh, definitely. Needing to rest just from making the bed, getting breathless walking short distances, and eventually, being found just resting in her robe mid-morning, totally drained.
So how is this different from, you or I feeling tired after a long day?
Well, the source describes it as qualitatively different. Overwhelming, persistent, not really fixed by a nap or a good night's sleep.
It's the body conserving energy, isn't it?
That seems to be the idea. Systems slowing down, prioritizing the essential functions, like the body downshifting gears.
So physiologically, what's happening?
The piece mentions a few things. The heart might be weakening slightly, lungs less efficient, maybe faster muscle loss.
Ah, okay. So all of that would contribute to this profound exhaustion.
Makes sense. Things that were once easy now take a huge amount of energy. You might see more napping, needing longer to recover after doing anything, maybe even getting lightheaded.
And there's a common misunderstanding here, isn't there? Families might think it's laziness or lack of motivation.
Yes, the source highlights that. But the key insight is this isn't a choice. It's a physiological need as the body adapts.
Right, so if you connect it back to the idea of the body preparing, this energy conservation is natural, necessary even.
So our role changes. It's not about pushing them.
No, it's about understanding, respecting those new limits, maybe making their environment a bit easier, a chair placed strategically, offering help in a way that still allows for dignity.
Prioritizing ease, letting them rest without guilt. This fatigue isn't something to fight, it's a sign to meet with. Understanding, compassion.
Well said.
Okay, third sign, cognitive confusion and emotional withdrawal. Harold's story here was quite poignant, always sharp mentally.
The family anchor, it sounded like.
Totally. But then, subtle forgetfulness. Repeating stories, misplacing things.
Small things at first.
Yeah. But the moment that really struck me was when he asked about his wife.
Who had passed years before.
Exactly. What does that kind of confusion tell us?
It points to a more significant shift in brain function. Like other organs, the source explains, the brain can start to slow down in this final year.
Even without a history of dementia or anything.
Yes. It can manifest as increased mental fog, maybe moments of disorientation, more frequent memory lapses, and it can be a slow fade, as the piece notes.
And this often happens alongside emotional withdrawal.
They often go hand in hand, yes. People might become less talkative, avoid social situations, lose interest in things they used to love.
But it's not necessarily that they don't care anymore.
Not necessarily. It might be more of an inward focus. Their internal world is becoming more prominent, perhaps.
So external things feel like too much.
Could be. External stimulation might feel overwhelming. Following conversations can be tiring. The example of Joyce was telling,
But she went from being very social.
to preferring quiet solitude, just sitting by the window. And the source emphasized it wasn't necessarily sadness, more like a peaceful detachment.
That must be hard for loved ones to see, though. Your instinct is to try and engage them, pull them back.
Of course. But the advice is wise. Don't push too hard. It can cause frustration for everyone.
So the insight is, meet them where they are.
I think so. Speak gently. Offer your presence. Simple physical comfort, like holding a hand.
It makes you rethink what connection means in that context.
Absolutely. Sometimes just being there, calmly, quietly, that's the most profound communication. The source reminds us these changes are part of letting go, not a rejection of love. Their inner life might still be very rich.
That's a beautiful thought. Okay, fourth sign, frequent infections and slow healing. Arthur's experience here.
Yes, the minor scratch that just wouldn't heal.
Right, and then a cold that lingered, a UTI, recurring low-grade fevers. And he was usually someone who bounced back fast.
These aren't just isolated incidents, usually. The source points to them as potential indicators of a weakening immune system.
The body's defenses are lowering.
Seems so. It's another way the body might be conserving energy. Its ability to fight infection and repair itself is just diminishing.
So something minor before might become a bigger deal now.
Potentially, yes. A simple cold could maybe turn into pneumonia more easily. Chronic infections might be harder to clear up.
And treatments might not work as well?
Exactly. Even antibiotics might be less effective. And crucially, the signs of infection might change.
How so?
Well, instead of a high fever or obvious pain, you might see increased confusion, or more fatigue, or a loss of appetite as the main clue that something's wrong.
Ah, that's subtle but really important. So the core insight here, it shifts the goalposts a bit.
It does. It shifts the focus, perhaps, from aggressively treating every single infection to prioritizing comfort, managing the symptoms.
Adjusting expectations, aiming for peace rather than a cure every time.
Yes. Providing practical care, keeping them comfortable, clean, offering fluids, easy to digest food, and just appreciating the small moments of comfort. Slow healing isn't a failure. It reflects the body's current capacity. It helps us provide care with more empathy.
That perspective is vital. Okay, number 5, changes in breathing and circulation. Helen's story, the breathlessness, softer voice,
Pauses in conversation.
and the cool bluish fingertips. That paints a clear picture.
These are often classic signs the body is prioritizing its core functions, conserving energy by redirecting blood flow away from the extremities, like hands and feet.
So it's not just feeling cold, it's a sign of this bigger shift.
Frequently, yes,
Yeah.
a sign the system is beginning to slow down.
And the breathing changes. They can show up in different ways.
Yes. The source mentioned needing to sleep propped up on pillows?
Maybe due to fluid in the lungs?
Potentially. Also, sometimes a soft rattling or gurgling sound when breathing. And that specific pattern chain stokes respiration.
Right, the deep breaths followed by pauses.
What I found insightful was framing these not necessarily as immediate emergencies, but as important signals.
Messages from the body.
Exactly. Recognizing them as part of the natural process lets you respond calmly, with reassurance, rather than panic.
So the focus becomes comfort again. Calm environment, pillows for support, maybe small sips of liquid.
And just being present, reassuring them they aren't alone, sometimes just your presence, a gentle touch, that's the most powerful support. These signs are reminders the journey is shifting.
Your role is love and presence. Okay, final sign, number 6. Changes in emotional expression and personality.
And the source gave those contrasting examples. Uncle Ray becoming more affectionate, reflective.
And the neighbor, Clara, becoming quiet and withdrawn. It shows the range, doesn't it?
It really does. These shifts reflect the internal processing going on, how the mind and spirit adapt to the body's changes.
And it's not always sadness.
No, as the source points out, sometimes it's acceptance, reflection, or just turning inward.
The piece mentioned other possibilities too, like being more reflective about life, maybe more spiritual.
Yes, or mood swings, irritability, even a kind of emotional detachment, which can be confusing, even upsetting for families if someone's usual reactions change drastically.
So what's the key thing to remember here?
The core insight, I think, is that these changes are very rarely personal. They're not directed at you.
It's the process itself.
Yes. As brain function shifts, as energy goes inward, emotional expression can change. It's often a sign of their inner journey, maybe finding peace. Your role is gentleness, patience, understanding.
Even when words are limited.
Especially then, recognizing their inner experience might still be profound. Listen without judgment. Offer comfort, reassure them they're safe, loved. Just be present through whatever state they're in.
Understanding is part of life unfolding.
Exactly. That quiet presence, as the source puts it so well, can be the most comforting gift.
Okay, so just to quickly recap those 6 signs from Signs of Life's final year. Unexplained weight loss,
Persistent fatigue,
cognitive confusion, and emotional withdrawal.
frequent infections, and slow healing.
Changes in breathing and circulation.
And those shifts in emotional expression and personality.
And it's so crucial, as you said earlier, this isn't about losing hope.
Not at all. It's about tuning in with love, with compassion to what's actually happening.
Because that understanding lets you offer the right kind of support. It helps you make meaningful choices about time together.
And foster deeper connections during what is ultimately a very precious and significant time.
Which brings us to a final thought, perhaps, for you listening.
Yes. As you think about these signs, maybe reflect on how this understanding could shape your own perspective, your approach in your relationships when faced with these situations.
Because these subtle shifts, while they can be difficult to witness, they are a natural part of life's journey.
And they offer an opportunity, perhaps, to be fully present and to connect on a profoundly deeper level.